now we will be continuing a deep dive into some psychological pathways. So let me just share my screen. Okay, just a moment, sorry. Okay, sorry it took so long, but can you all see my screen now? I think there's just some internet connectivity issues. Okay, so continuing this deep dive, we will be moving now to a clinical psychologist who blends neuroscience with real-world mental health interventions. She is a DHA licensed mental health professional practicing with Mahana Care UAE and MHRC, holding a master's degree in clinical psychology from UAE University. Alongside her diagnostic and clinical work, she is a meditation and breathwork instructor with the Art of Living Foundation, having taught hundreds of individuals to cultivate resilience. Please welcome respected Ms. Megha Pai for her session, The Regulating Brain, Autonomic Systems, Vagus Nerve, and Emotional Endophenotypes.
Thank you, Zara. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Miss.
Yeah. So I was having a little bit of technical issue, so I'm joining from my phone. So my apologies if my sound and video is not very good, but I hope it's going to suffice for the duration of this evening. So if I can request you, Zara, to share the screen
Yes,
with the
just doing it
presentation.
now. Just a moment.
So while we do that, I really want to address, that this is such a momentous occasion. I think, more and more youth are getting into, mental health and into neuroscience and looking at integrated systems. I think today is like a testimony to that, how all these different pathways are essentially integrated into providing one holistic, sort of treatment and service to our patients, for those of us who are practicing now, and of course, all of you all who are looking to become practitioners in the future. So I look forward to sharing my perspective from psychological side of things. I'm just waiting. Is it just me? Yeah, is the presentation on?
Yes, just sharing it now. Sorry, it's just taking a while to load because of all the things open. Okay. Yes, please go ahead. Right now, I think everyone can you see the screen? Just let me know when to go to the next slides. Thank you, Miss. Please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Zara. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better presentation to go before mine, because I think the previous speaker very well summarized what I'm going to be talking about a lot more, albeit from a psychological perspective. So my topic today is regulating brain, talking about the autonomic systems, the vagus nerve in particular, and the emotional endophenotypes. Next slide. Right. So our brain is, when we talk about psychology, we are looking at the mental health, the mind. But our brain is more than, a thinking machine. It's also doing cognitions, it's regulating, it's doing more mind-body integration. stress recovery, and also it's a prediction machine, right? It's always detecting for threats in our surroundings and predicting what's going to happen next. So it's really multifaceted and complex and a beautiful piece of evolution, if you may look at it that way. Next. Right. So how is it doing all of these things, right? It's using something called the autonomic nervous system. I'm sure even before us, before I joined, a lot of talk has been around the autonomic nervous system, and we spoke about this even in the previous presentation. I seem to have lost my slides. Is it just me, or can everybody else see it?
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. I think it stopped sharing. I'm just gonna continue now. Hold on.
Sure, no worries. So yeah, while the slides come back on, again, not going too deep into the autonomic nervous system, I think most of us have a great idea of what it does. But I want to summarize it as, the metaphor of driving, right? So your autonomic nervous system has two branches, of course, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Look at it as your body's gas pedal and brake. If you use the metaphor of driving, so the sympathetic nervous system is getting us ready for action. Especially what we know very commonly we refer to as the fight and flight response, right? It's become very popular in common jargon nowadays. So fight, flight, and sometimes freeze. So that's yes, that's the slide. So it accelerates the heart rate and breathing, dilates our pupils, redirects blood to our muscles, basically getting us ready for action, right? And then we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which works towards rest and digest, slows our heart rate, and promotes digestion and cellular repair, and it creates a physiological state of calm. And I don't want you to look at it as opposites. It's more like complementary, so kind of like a dance or a yin and a yang, if you must. And if you can go to the next slide. Okay, so the vagus nerve, is really the most important switch in our autonomous nervous system. It is basically, turning on and off our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous responses, and it is the emotional gatekeeper. It is a nerve which is running from the top of our head, from the brain stem all the way down, and it's wrapping around all our organs. So it's really the, you could call it the information highway. So 80% of the vagus nerve fibers are sending signals up from our organs to the brain and 20% back to the organs. So our brain is constantly getting information through the vagus nerve, and it's sending back signals on what to do again through the vagus nerve. And a high vagal tone really matters, because higher the tone of the the vagal tone, it results in better stress resilience and emotional regulation. Next. So why emotions feel physical? It's because of something called interoception. Of course, we were talking about how, when you feel a certain emotion, you have butterflies in the stomach. So that is your emotion leading to a physiological response. And sometimes you might have noticed that even before you realize that you're feeling an emotion, like it could be stress, it could be fear, it could be calm, calmness, love, your body has already started, giving the physical response. So this is something called interoception. It's the process by which the brain senses, the brain senses and interprets and integrates signals originating from the body, right? And so what is the clinical significance of this? It's essentially, it indicates that interoception is strongly associated with neurodivergence, psychiatric conditions, and emotional dysregulation, right? So higher the sense of interoception, lower is the association with the, is the instance of any psychiatric conditions or emotional dysregulation. And by helping clients to access awareness about our internal states, therapeutic interventions can foster greater stability and self-regulation. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yes. So now coming to the markers of mental health, those are your endophenotypes, right? Before we used to, look at external markers to understand mental health, or we used to look at genes, right? So your biomarkers. Now endophenotypes are kind of sitting in the middle ground between your genetics as well as your your external behavioral markers. So it's an objective, micro biological marker that bridges the gap between an individual genetic layout and their macroscopic observable behavior, or before a diagnosis can be made. So what are some of the endophenotypes? It's your stress sensitivity and autonomic balance. These are some common endophenotypes that we look at. For example, some people stay more activated for longer and find it very difficult to downregulate their sympathetic nervous system response. And when the sympathetic nervous system goes into overdrive, that can lead to hypervigilance and impaired vagal recovery, as we see in a number of mental health diseases such as PTSD and anxiety. So having an idea about these endophenotypes and being able to, more importantly, measure it gives us a better and clearer picture of what's going on under the hood and what would work, because it helps you to also do targeted intervention. So in terms of measuring these endophenotypes, how do we do it? We do it primarily by looking at something called the heart rate variability, right? It is essentially the time between each heartbeat. If it is higher, heart rate variability is higher, you are more resilient. And that's usually the what it's found to be. And you also have something called the respiratory sinus arrhythmia, that basically looking at how your heartbeat is getting faster with or slower with breathing. So when you inhale, your heartbeat becomes slightly faster, and when you exhale, slower. So these are some of the factors that you can measure how the person to deal with stress, and how well they're able to balance their stress response and recovery. So when there is chronic imbalance, a heightened vulnerability has been found to transdiagnostic mental health conditions such as major depressive disorder, PTSD, as I mentioned, anxiety, and even some personality disorders such as borderline personality. Next slide, please. Right. So now what does this mean for us in terms of therapy, right? In terms of treatment? Looking at the mind-body complex is very important. Instead of just doing talk therapy where we deal with mind, now we are looking at more robust systems where we are doing body and breath-based therapies. So we have, for instance, low structured diaphragmatic breathing. It's not just fluff. There is real research to show that breathing really, really works. And it helps you to get out of the fight, flight, and freeze response. We are also looking now at cold water immersion. It's something that sounds like an like your grandmother would say, right? Go wash your face, you're really angry. But the science is very clear, it actually works. So it's not just, something that is culturally practiced. It is also actually very, and mindful vocalizations like chanting and humming. Humming has been shown to really, really calm. Something like a physiological sigh, right? When we are tired or when we are hurt, we naturally tend to make the sound, right? So that's turns out it's not coincidental. It's actually very, very self-soothing. We have something like EMDR, which basically we do eye movement in a certain way, which helps us to release our stress and effects of trauma. We also have something called somatic shaking, trauma release exercises, where it was essentially developed looking at nature and animals, how when they are stressed, they just kind of shake it off, right? So it turns out that is really, really effective. So Taylor Swift was not joking when she said, shake it off. Uh, Jokes apart, vagus nerve stimulation is what we are looking at with all of the other therapies. And also we do something called, TVNS, or transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulation, where we send very, very slight, currents to the vagus nerve to stimulate so that we can improve the vagal tone. And has been approved for depression and epilepsy. They're expanding its application, very promising, especially in treatment-resistant depression. It has been shown to show a lot of benefits. And finally, we have something called biofeedback. Now it's all rage, right? We are all wearing heart rate monitors. We are wearing Apple Watches. Different ways to, those rings where it's checking your heart rate variability and your sleep cycles. Now that is a great way to get like real-time biofeedback to improve our insight into what's working, what effect it's having on us. And there are some real demonstrable improvements with anxiety, with stress resilience, and chronic pain. So with that, I come to an end, and I leave you with the thought that we need to more and more stop thinking about mental health, or even health for that matter, as being in silos. We are actually one integrated human beings having a real-time experience. So the more we all try to see holistically the whole picture, be it biopsychosocial, genetic, environmental, and of course neuroscience, from the lens of the neuroscience, the more we tend to bring it all in together, the better and more robust our treatments are going to be. So with that, I bring this presentation to an end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Megha, for that illuminating look into emotional regulation. So we have actually now reached our first official interlude.